Although Parker has a lot of really great things going for it, there are some things you need to know before moving to Parker. Today we're going to explore 6 cons of moving to Parker. Number 1 is the distance. Tell us a little bit about the distance and where Parker is kind of located.
Yeah, distance from Parker. Parker in relation to Denver, it's southeast, and just to give an example, if you're moving to Colorado and you're like, wow, I love skiing, I want to do the outdoor activities, everything in the mountains. Driving typically from Parker to the Front Range I-70 corridor, you're going to be looking at about 35-40 minutes just to get to that point. And that's before you get into the mountains. So it can take a little bit of time. Then traveling, downtown, you're looking at easily 25 minutes to 30 minutes.
It's actually probably, so it's 25 miles away from downtown, from the heart of Parker to downtown. So you might be looking at, with no traffic, 35 minutes just to get downtown. So if that's somewhere important to you, then that might not be a good fit for you in Parker.
Right. So it all depends on relation to your job, wherever you're going to take a position somewhere. If you work in the tech center, for example, that's actually only about 20 minutes away, which that's definitely not the end of the world. There is a light rail that goes down I-25. That is an option depending on where you work. So you can avoid you'd still have the same travel time, but you wouldn't be driving.
Right, you read a book.
Be
Yeah,
a little
exactly.
different there.
But yes, if you're looking to, if your job is anywhere on the north side of Denver or the metro area up there, you're looking at a good hour's commute from Parker. So that is a really big downside to Parker, and that everyone should know about before kind of considering that.
Yeah, that probably Parker wouldn't be my first choice if I worked up in the north part. Then there's better options.
Exactly.
I think definitely.
All right, so number 2 on the list is the weather. If you thought being isolated before was an issue, add weather on top of all these traffic issues we talked about, and it's really a headache. Driving conditions can easily triple your drive time. Tell us a little bit about what you can kind of expect springtime and
Oh gosh,
the unpredictable storms.
in the spring, after winter, so you think the snow might be over in February, March? No. I think March is the heaviest month.
March and April are some of the snowiest months we get.
We've had times where you'll get anywhere from 12 to 30 inches within a couple days. You get about, I'd say, 3 to 5 snowstorms a year that amount to anything, not just a couple inches. And but we'll get busy, like heavy snowstorms that'll shut down the city, and you're basically snowed in.
Right.
And there's some positives and negatives to that.
Right, that can be fun.
Yeah, if you're stocked up, food and drinks and everything else, you stay in and watch movies and get your neighbors together and have fun. But if you need to get to work or something else,
catching a flight,
there's a problem.
There's definitely
you're
issues.
Probably calling it.
Yeah, exactly. And even on days, later in the year, you might have actually, as the summer's going into transitioning into winter, we call that fall. What oftentimes will happen is you'll have a hot day during the day, then the ground will be nice and warm. It will snow that next day, and the heat from the prior day will keep that snow from sticking, and so then you have a lot of water. And then at the end of that day, after the snow's been there, you just have water on the ground, but the ground finally freezes, and then the next morning's commute is an ice rink.
Ice rink, yeah.
And so people don't think about that. Like, even with 0 inches of snow on the ground, that those first couple hours can just be absolutely treacherous, even just with a light dusting, because you do get that overnight freeze. And people have to keep that in mind, that if you're down in Parker and you're 30 minutes away and you have to be there, or you have to catch a flight out at DIA, which is also not supremely easy to get to, although you do have a back way with E470.
Yeah.
you're going to be adding potentially double, triple your drive time,
Right.
and it can be incredibly
Well,
frustrating.
and some of those roads, when they get the ice on them, especially in the morning during rush hour, the sun hasn't come up enough to really take care of that. I mean, it's not uncommon to see people sliding off the road
Oh, yeah.
or
Totally.
little 5 or 10 car accidents. You know, just it's a big deal, and you don't think about that, but
Not at all.
you know. And then, did we touch on hail at all?
True. I mean, Colorado just in general has a very diverse amount of weather, and hail is one of our biggest issues. You will
Yeah.
see hail roll through, and Parker does not get Parker probably gets it as much as anywhere else, just because
Oh,
of how
easily,
these
'cause
systems run
it's
through. You can kind of expect to run into some hailstorms that are going to devastate your car or home once every 3 or 4 years. You got to be careful about that stuff. It will sneak
Yeah.
up on you. So,
yeah, and spring, summer, even fall.
yeah,
There's a chance you can
Yeah.
get hail
yeah,
and get your roof replaced.
yeah. All right. So demographics is number 3. While it's great for raising a family and has excellent schools down in Parker, it can be really tough if you're younger or a younger professional and you're single, maybe living that single life, and you want some nightlife. This could be a tough place for you if you're looking at living in Parker. Tell us about the limited nightlife in Parker, Brian.
You know, there's probably downtown Parker, the little 3 block radius of downtown Parker. They have a handful, I don't know what, half a dozen places. Like I know there's a wine bar. There's a couple other kind of later bars that'll be there that'll have some music here and there, but you don't have as many options, and a lot of times they'll close earlier, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. And you know, if you're downtown, Lohi or somewhere else, you might have.
For example, I live in Lower Highlands, Lohi, down in Denver, and outside of my front door, within a mile, I have probably 100 bars, restaurants, and different scenes to go to that are, a diverse mix of different types of places you want to go, from a sports bar to a higher end cocktail lounge to everything in between, within walking distance. Where if you're in Parker, you're not going to have that. You're going to have to travel to get that nightlife experience. And what you're going to start running into is that if you're going down there and you plan on doing any amount of imbibing of alcohol, you may an Uber can be $40 to $100 back to Parker, depending on where you're at.
That'll get expensive.
Each way. So if you're looking to kind of live in a more a place with more of a scene, Parker's probably not going to be a good fit for you. But of course, if that's something you're not looking for, Parker's probably great. So that brings us into number 4 about Parker. Along with its demographics, it does kind of have, like, I would say, a vanilla culture and attractions. It's only really been majorly built out from the 90s to now, so it's only got a pretty short window of history. Will you tell us a little bit more about what you
Yeah,
can
they
expect?
have a lot of. I mean, they'll have the bigger chain. You know, you have your Costco, you have a Trader Joe's, you have your Walmart and Home Depot, and a lot of chain restaurants that you've heard of before. Whether they're fast food or kind of casual dining. You have a lot of that around, but you're not going to see a lot of the single, more unique single restaurants that you're not going to find everywhere else, as you would in downtown Denver,
Right.
or around closer to downtown Denver. And but it doesn't lack retail or the restaurants. I mean, there's plenty of that. It's just you're going to see.
You're going to get a very retail kind of strip mall feel, or a big shopping area that'll have like your big box stores with your other strips around it,
and a liquor store, and a dry cleaner, and all the staples that you need.
A
And
Home
then
Depot.
a couple satellite restaurants.
And there might be 1 or 2 of those that are kind of independently owned or types, and the rest are going to be stuff you've probably heard of, chains,
Right.
Stuff like that. in just juxtaposition to downtown Denver, where you might see almost none of the chain restaurants, and they're all individually owned. You know, charming places with a unique character and history, unique style of building, even with older buildings and whatnot. That's not something Parker is going to have a lot of. Really, in downtown Parker, for their little 3 block little
Right.
area is
Right.
kind of all that you're going to see there. So if you're looking for that, you're going to have to travel from Parker to get that experience.
Right.
So that's kind of our fourth con. Talk about our number 5, Brian.
You know, our growth. Parker's really expanded over the last 20 plus years. It's only been around, what, in the 90s it was built. And I moved out to Colorado in 99, 2000. And I think it was a 22,000. Right now you're looking at about 60. And there's so many different new build communities that are expanding, southwest, southeast, and south. And they're kind of, over the next number of years, they'll merge with Castle Rock, which is about 10 or 15 minutes away. So it's not necessarily a negative thing, it's just you're going to run into construction more, the traffic patterns are going to be more congested, so you always have to allow for more time. But over time, I mean, you're not going to be able to stop the growth, that's just part of it.
Yeah.
And so in 10 years, Parker's going to look different. It'll look the same but different, just bigger than what it is right now. And to some people that could be a negative if they're looking for that, hey, small town feel and just want to leave it alone. That might not be the place.
Today's Parker and 10 years Parker are not going to be the same Parker. Like you said, that's not a bad thing, but just know that you're always going to need to be getting used to those big construction signs of the new development coming soon, and that's
Right.
just always going to be a part of what Parker is. It's been expanding for the last 20 to 30 years at a pretty hefty rate, and I don't see any reason for it to slow down. So just kind of be expecting that Parker is going to continue to grow and sprawl bigger and wider. And if that's not something you're looking for, then Parker is probably not a good fit.
Now, if you're looking for a new build, it's fantastic.
Parker is your spot.
You have a lot of options, and you have a lot of different price points and everything else, and that could be a fantastic thing. So that's another thing to keep in mind.
And finally, our number 6 con of living in Parker is the cost and the expense of living in Parker.
Yeah, let's just touch on housing. Your average or median price is going to be in the 600s, mid to 600 to upper 600s in a lot of cases. And that's just for your basic 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single-family house. And that could be an older one, and the new builds are pretty much going higher than that. There are a few townhomes and all that can be in that range, but the single-family, you're looking at starting there and then going up to 7, 8, 9,
Right.
and even higher if you want.
But yeah, you're not, with a new build, you're not getting in for the mid 600s. Those are 7s, 8s now.
Yeah.
Which is fine because, like we said, most of Parker's homes aren't old. I wouldn't really ever drive through many areas at all in Parker where you think, oh man, this is really old
Right.
and beat down. That's kind of a pro in a sense.
Now, I mean, on the other pros side of it, you actually get a lot for your money. The houses are larger in square footage and bedrooms and baths, etc. So you're getting a lot for your money in that respect, but it's not going to be inexpensive to get into most of those neighborhoods. So it's something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
And then you always have in those many of the neighborhoods in and around Parker, they have an HOA that'll include a clubhouse, a pool, parks and playgrounds, etc. And all that just adds up.
These can get pretty expensive pretty quickly. Now, each community, there's a wide variety of HOA costs. Some have none. Some have, a very small one. But the majority is, and what we're seeing over time, and this is just like with taxes, these never seem to go down in cost. They always seem to slowly be raising over time, which is, to be expected. But each new community seems to be adding a little bit more and more to what they give you, and that stuff just costs more money. So whether that's
Yeah.
a nicer clubhouse with more amenities and more pools and stuff like that, and better park systems, and they're mowing your lawn now, or all these things, just understand that, yeah, maybe you're buying a $700,000 house, but your payment feels more like a $750,000, $780,000 house because of this HOA that they're tacking on
Right.
each month.
And to give you kind of a ballpark, an HOA, when we talk about the HOA, it's not hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month. It's typically 40 to 65 a month, but it could run up to 80 to $100 a month at the most, probably in most cases. Now, I think the positive of a HOA, it does maintain the integrity of the neighborhood when it comes to the style of the home, the cleanliness of the roads, the parks and the greenery. They're maintained. And one thing with Parker is that they've always, even heck in 2008, 9, and 12, when most of the market went down, I don't know if Parker saw that much of a loss.
No.
Maybe low single digits. But they maintain their value pretty well. And if not, they're usually one of the higher markets that goes up in appreciation every year. So the HOAs, I would say they're more of a pro than a con, but I know there's people that just hate HOAs and they will never live in an HOA
And
community.
there are definitely some HOA horror
And
stories.
if that's the case, Parker's probably not for you.
Right.
There's other areas that have no HOAs, and that's great too.
Yep.
So,
Guys, that's our list of the 6 cons you need to know about when moving to Parker. Now, if none of these are deal breakers for you, Parker might be a really good spot for you and your family to raise your family. So if you want any more information about living in Parker, we specialize in neighborhoods in Parker, knowing about which ones might fit you best. So let us know. Please reach out. We'd love to help. Thanks so much. Have a great time.
thanks.
See ya. That's good.